In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create SSR and CSR. SSR is nothing but server side rendering. CSR is client side rendering. This is very important for web developers to understand between these two differences. Okay. In an essence, the key difference is that if we create the final HTML, I mean, every web page is basically end of the day, it produces the HTML content to present in the website or the URL, right? If we generate the HTML in on the server side, that is called the server side rendering. But if you collect the JSON from the server, if you render the JSON along with the HTML, something called a string interpolation, like a string merging or whatever, that's called a CSR, okay, client side rendering. Why these two are, different? So we will see how why this is really important for web developers, and I'll also explain some use cases where you need to use SSR and where you need to use CSR. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to use the Rapid API because I see this is very easy for you to just go ahead and kickstart. And whatever I present in this video, it may take for you to go ahead and create and try yourself without bringing too many complications. So in this Rapid API, there are variety of APIs, right? So I'm going to search something called movies, okay, and there are many movie related databases are available. All right, so here I'm going to choose the one with let's say IMDb top movies and see whether we have some fancy API to. So this one, okay, let's say there are top movies list or something like that. If we hit it says, I mean, this is only for a data idea, okay, how you can collect the data for your website. This is not really going to be used in our program, but it's an idea of how to collect the data. So here the response is more important, okay. In every response there is a title and of course thumbnail image and some description trailer images are there. Okay, cool. We will use this particular API. Okay, in order to do that, just go ahead and search something like that and click the test endpoint, and then it will give you like this, and you can just go ahead and click the test endpoint. If you don't subscribe to this Rapid API, you can even go on. I mean, in your case, when you click the test endpoint, it will ask you to subscribe. I mean, it's mostly free in order to understand, develop some basic concepts. When you use a large calls, they will ask the usage fee. But other than that, most of the time you can kickstart this with the any development activity. Okay, so here this is the data. Okay, when I hit, there are 100 movies data set is available, and if you go and see the result set is something like this, and I'm going to pull this in my program, and I'm going to represent or present this data into the website, both server side rendering concept and the front end rendering concept. Okay, um, all right. In order to do that, we need to create one very, very simple React.js web application. I'll open my, my computer, and I'm going to create a React app. If you are not familiar how to create a React app and all, I have other videos in my channel, uh, detailed, explained explained in detail how to create a React app. Okay, React.js create new app. Just search like that. You see the first thing and just go ahead and copy this command and run. Okay, I don't use npx, I create npm. All right, just go to your command prompt, npm, and movies. Okay, so npm is a node package manage command, and create a react.js is a command to create a react.js application, and movies is a folder in which all the source code will be generated. Okay, um, so let's go ahead and it. I mean, please note that you go and look at other watch if other video if you are not familiar with the react.js. Let hit enter. Okay, it says that it doesn't understand this React app. Okay, no problem. Let's go ahead and install npm g install. Okay, npm install called I, right? instll install. Create a React app. If you find similar issue, just go ahead and install that particular npm. Okay, I'm done. Now you go ahead and create npm create movie, or okay, I think I am wrong. Okay, here it says that npx um, just go ahead and type like react.js create app, and you will see the command. Copy this and come to your command prompt. Go to somewhere in your computer. I mean, just maintain the folder structure always, and hit this. In my case, my program name is movies, or let's say client, or yeah, SSR, CSR. Okay, hit button. It will create the minimal or the basic React.js app. All right, it will take a few seconds, and meanwhile I'll go and create one of the backend application also. um, in my case, I'm going to create something like I'll remove some of them. I'll create maybe Python or Java. In my video, if you go and look at how to create a Spring Boot a web-based application and all, here we can create a simple Flask application. Python, it's very simple to understand how you can create a web application. I can create one folder, and it is going to be Flask app. All right, and hit enter. Get into the Flask app. Okay, this is going to be my backend, because every web application involves both the front end and back end, right? So I just get into the Flask app, and maybe we can create one file, right? Without going much of that, let's open this into the Visual Code Studio. I use Visual Code Studio in order to write programs. Just go ahead and open, and let's create a file. Let's say main.py. Okay, that is going to be my application. Like a server app. Okay, we need to create the um, I would say that the web app, right? Let's write. mm, can we do something like from Flask import? If you are not familiar with Python or a Flask framework, it's pretty easy. So Python is going to be my backend, in which I'm going to use a Flask. Flask is one of the Python Flask is the one of the very simple and best web application framework. And you have a quick start, and you can just go ahead and find like how to create. Okay, this is simple example in order to run. Just go ahead and copy paste and save this. We can go ahead and run, but in this model, I don't like the way, to write something like that. It is always better you can use the main function. Even in this web application, it is not necessary, but I always write the some of the basic things. Okay, this is the main application in Python app.run. Okay, just save this and go to your command prompt. In order to run, type main.py. Okay, yeah, your web server is now running. I mean, the just few lines of code will just simply create a web server. Code open. You see, when I open the um, browser of this particular port, I'm seeing the website. Okay, I mean, Flask is really simple. You can go and type something like let's say slash movies. You can type anything. Let's say how do you do it? New movies. I'm just trying to show one of the controller how to create in Flask. It's pretty easy. Just go ahead and refresh. I think Python will not refresh like React. I'm sorry about that. Just you need to kill and restart. Okay. Okay. Why it is throwing error? Because the method cannot be same, right? Movies. Just go ahead and start and come back to the browser. Click refresh. You see controller, right? It's a very simple example of Python and Flask framework. Now go ahead and see whether our ReactJS is created. Yes, it is created now. Okay, go to the we created a folder, right? CD, SSR and CSR. Okay, now hit the command called npm start. It will open the web application from the React side. Okay, this is a web application we created right now using the React. Now you see there are two different applications we are talking about, right? One is the backend which is Python based, and one is the front end which is React based. Okay, so let's go and clean this particular content. This one will be under the app. Okay, this is the content. You see edit src something like that. Go ahead and remove them. I mean, in our case it's not going to be. Okay, just this is the page. I mean, we have ReactJS web front end application. I mean, anyway, React is going to serve in the front end for the users, and the Python is going to be the service. I mean, it is going to provide the data to the React front end. Okay, so now can we go ahead and call the what is that, the Rapid API? Okay, if you go here, the one we already clicked on the CPU example, we can, I mean, one of the benefit with the Rapid API is that you can just go ahead and copy paste the code. In our case, we are going to use JavaScript into the ReactJS side. Just go ahead and use, in my case, I'll use AxiOS. Okay, copy this and paste in your program wherever you need to import, and copy this. Okay, here you need to write under the functional part of it. Okay, I'll talk about this particular API keys. Okay, very shortly. Let's for now let's keep this one, and this is, I mean, this is because uh, React. I mean, in this case, let's remove and go ahead and see. Okay, AxiOS is missing one. Let's go ahead and install. Open your terminal and make sure that you are in the folder of the one you created. npm I or install AxiOS. Just hit, it will install the necessary packages. Okay, now it is installed. You see, once we pull the data, I mean, it is in the simple function here. What we can do, you can go ahead and create some state variable. Okay, ReactJS use effect. There will be some example. Please note that I always recommend to copy paste the code rather writing it, because instead of writing copy paste and just understand the concept how it works. So here I'm going to create the state variable. movies and set movies. This movie is going to be array, right? Because movies are list. I mean, in this particular example, I mean, this example, we see that the example is basically comes out um, the array, and the array got. Let's go ahead and expand this. You see the items. Item got 4 elements in it, right? Um, so this is going to be array. Okay, let's keep this as array. After we collected the data, I mean, we go ahead and hit this API. I mean, let's write a little bit procedure here. Let's use effect. Okay, in the use effect, let's say pull or fetch movies. Call a function. Okay, and this function is not there. Go ahead and create a function. I mean, in React, you need to write a constant fetch movies and arrow function, and put it something like that, and keep it all the function between it. Okay, in our case, let's, I mean, we can leave the formatting now. Okay, hit the tab, and you see after this data is received, they are printing in the console, right? Let's go ahead and see whether the data is really fetching now. Okay, do refresh. You see SSR finished in the 28 we are getting, of course, nothing. We are getting empty string, correct? Because in our case we use this exam. Okay, we did not copy the proper one. Go ahead and click the movies list and go to the code snippet, copy the code. So this one, right? Yeah, it is options, and this is the code. I think we no need a try catch for now. It's unnecessary unless there is a real exception going to occur. Um, so this is a function. It ends here, and paste. Let's see what's going to happen. Sorry, here, because it says that according to their example, they said it should be await, right? Await. If you put await, it will. That's the way they mentioned into this particular function. Okay, but when we run here, it says that this is not async function. Go ahead and add the async. Okay, now you see the data got collected. All right, we got the data. Okay, so once we get the data here, let's go and push the data to the state variable. Okay, let's push this. Instead of pushing everything, okay, so it's an array, and array of 100 items, and each array has something like this, right? Now our movies variable, this variable has 100 movies record. Now let's go ahead and present this format. I mean, for now I just do the format document. Okay, for a simple formatting. Here we are going to render this particular movies data in this page. Okay, let's remove this for now. I mean, if you need a more data or an example, I mean, in order to see how we need to write the further code, and I'll close this one. So go to the example code, copy. In my case, I'll always use a JSON formatter. Just copy paste. You will know the structure of the data. Okay. So let's go and format. Um, in my previous video tutorial, I explained about ant design. Okay. In this context, I am not going to explain in detail. But in simple line, ant design is a UI framework where you can go and make some fantastic and creative UIs. This is the, can you use something like this, right? and go ahead and copy this particular code. Let's see, React and the const, go and copy paste. Okay, now it will throw error, right? Because it doesn't know what is entity. Go to your command prompt and install within the project. Okay, node, sorry, npm install paste. It'll take a few seconds. Just give it a few seconds and it will automatically resolve. One of the benefits is that React will keep compiling and resolving any dependencies as you install. So I install now. Let's go ahead and find out what the remaining data, correct? So in this case, I'm going to use JavaScript, not a TypeScript. And within it, let's go ahead and copy this. Instead of this div, let's paste our layout. We no need, I mean, it's not necessary style because that's not the context here. Let's remove. Okay, I'll remove this. Okay, and the header text within the content. You see the error got resolved now. Okay, I anymore we don't need this anymore. And how we can format our data? Can we format something like a table or some kind of card, right? Can we create something like this out of the movie? Okay, so this one looks better, right? Copy this code, I mean as an example, and you need to import the, I mean we already imported the ant design, right? And you can import the card component and use the same, I mean whatever the example they say, I mean whatever the framework you are using, whatever the example they say, let's follow it. Here you go, and in your content part we are going to um, render the movies, correct? So write a simple JavaScript movies dot map dot how do you write dot map we write, right? Then for each, rather I would say that ReactJS um, array for each, something like that. Let's go and take that as an example to move this faster. Okay, they say something like this, right? Copy and paste in our case, in our variable, I mean our variable is movies, correct? Why it is throwing error? That's okay, we can find out and resolve. For now you put a, okay, here there are two braces, right? That's wrong. That's the case, it is error. Okay, you know, in the React, we, I mean if we include the JavaScript in the HTML elements, um, we need to use the flower brace open and close, right? So each, um, I mean in movies I wanted to call movie and plural and singular, right? This is an array, this is each movie inside of it. Here I'm going to use the card that I showed you now. Okay, so just copy paste, and I mean whenever you need, just click and do the format. Okay, now here in this card, this is the alt, we can come now. So this title we should not have, I mean let's go ahead and see, refresh what you get. Okay, you see the same the beautiful girl, some model here, right? How do we do? Let's go ahead and implement our data. So in our data, where the name is, just go and look at it. The title is a name and the thumbnail is an image, isn't it? And there is something called image also. So let's see, maybe we can use the image or the thumbnail, right? Go ahead and copy this, and here what we can do, from the from the movie, right? Movie is our for loop, right? Each item movie dot title, isn't it? And instead of image, let's remove this. Okay, movie dot thumbnail. Let's go ahead and see how it have. So you see, this is our app. Okay, I mean the images are very blurry in my case. Let's go and use the other variable they mentioned. Okay, I think it is image. Instead of thumbnail looks very blurry, use the image one. Okay, let's go ahead and see how a page looks like. Yeah, this looks fantastic, right? uh, this maybe looks one after other. How do we really um, put some stack on it? Let's see a carousel. The carousel is something, yeah, this is also beautiful design. Okay, for now our whole game is how to build um, the SSR, right? So they have something like this, maybe one after another, something like this. So if you go, they create a row gutter, and each call anyway we need to split. Okay, for now we'll keep it. All right, so this is going to be our example, isn't it? We can just put one center tag in order to make this a center, maybe center line. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, now you see, so our movies are listed nicely, right? um, but I really concerned that this is not this will look like a separate line from the each of them. Can we go ahead and use space? I mean, space is another element from the ant design, which you can which you can stack multiple items. Yeah, okay, so this looks better. In the space we can say that the size is 10, I mean the gap between each of them. Why it is not appearing? 50. No, nothing happened, right? Okay, go ahead and look at it. Here space, maybe the code I used may be wrong. um, okay, here they give the example of in the space all you need to just give the value, right? Yeah, they set a size should be large, something like that. Okay. Okay, in order to solve that, I think this tag should come before that. That's a mistake I made, and move this space after this. Okay, because every loop we are putting a space tag. That's the reason it has no impact. Now let's go ahead and visit, and you can see the necessary space, right? It looks pretty okay. All right. So overall put together, I mean, if you have a page something like that, make sure it is keep on calling. In my case, and let's use. I mean, these are all the React stuff. Okay. Just to refresh. Sorry. I mean, in my case, it was keep hitting. That's a React state variable thing. Now this looks okay. If you go back to the code, one of the bad practice in this code is that we should not use any of the API keys in the front end directly. If you do that, any hackers can see your API keys and they can take it and they can definitely screw your application. Okay, please don't use any of the API keys here. And I mean, you can build your application with authentication and all. In this case, let's cut this. Okay, I'm not going to use this one, and let's go ahead and use Python code now. Call this Python. Okay, so this is our code, right? Copy this, go to your Python code, paste this request. Okay, I already have this request, and in the movies, let's create one with the API movies. Let's call API movies. Here, copy the remaining code and paste it as a global variable. I mean, whatever the URL and the headers. And here, instead of this, you call this one. I mean, I don't want to use a separate variable in this case. Okay, come down to the API. In the return, we are going to return this one. Okay, in order to return JSONify. That's a code. Okay, it will return the JSON. It throws error. Let's go and just import the JSONify in your API keys. Okay, now I have the API and in my Python code, not in the React. So in order to call this, let's go and we all know that where it is running, right? I use the new key. Don't worry, these keys will expire shortly. Okay, I pasted the code in my Python code. Okay, let's go and hit now. Oh, okay. I mean the Python we need to reset, right? Whatever the change. You see, the JSON is really coming from our backend, right? So let's go and call this in our React application. Instead of calling directly, I told you, right, we should not expose this. I mean, in your application you can design the login, who can log in, whether it's a public data, private data, something like that. Based on that you can manage. Okay, now instead of calling directly the rapid API, I call our program which is written in Python. Okay, it is going and calling the data I'm getting here. Again, remind everything is same, correct? But just go and find out here. This is the data we are getting, and data got this thing. Okay, so how did we change? It was directly calling the rapid API with API keys from the front end, which is posing the security issues. Now I moved the React API, I mean, sorry, what is that? This particular rapid API call to my Python code here, and the now the React is directly calling the Python. So still we are not there up to the SSR, but yeah, let's quickly touch base. So I make sure I save both of them and come back. I do refresh. You see this time, okay, it is not rendering. Go ahead and find out what is the issue. To refresh, and it is calling the API movies, and somewhat the response is not coming now. For the Flask, do import cars and do the cars. Okay, just go ahead and kill and restart. Okay, it says error because it doesn't know what is cars. Okay, pip I'm installing the Flask cars. I'm showing how to install the Python packages. Install, sorry, Python yum pip install Flask cars. Okay, it is installed now. Let's start. Again, it is an error. What was the issue? Okay, cars are in. I don't see anything wrong here. Um, Here cars, isn't it? Okay, again this is going to be error. Let's leave it now. Okay, go ahead and restart. Let's see whether we get the data into our React. Okay, now we resolve the cars issue. Okay, in your Flask app. Now everything looks okay. You see, in this case, you all know that if I mean this is a exactly the page that what you wanted to build. However, if you right click and see the view page source, whatever the data you see here, right, you see some movie name and but those data will not be here when you look at the view source code, because a React or on design kind of the front end framework will always show the same code regardless of the page you are visiting, regardless of the data you are presenting. Why? Because in this page, how do we return? You know, if you just go and do the inspect, you all know when I hit this page and I open this page, it is calling my backend. My backend is giving the JSON data, let's say do the normal tornado. See the API call goes and it is giving the response as a JSON. This particular JSON I am presenting as a like a, some kind of a card. Okay, so when you do that, all the data plus HTML tags binding happen only in the browser side. That is the reason when I click and do the view source, okay, I mean, you may not, okay, when you click this, the view source doesn't show any of that. That's the exact problem with the client side. I mean, this is perfect. However, my application should be, searchable by the Google search engine or Yandex or whatever the search engine. When any search engine, just go ahead and open the curl. I mean, in your browser, you do the, I mean, in your console, do the curl and hit the URL. If you hit, even it will give the same data what you see here in the view source, correct? What I'm actually seeing here is the images with the data and everything. Okay, but when I do the view source, I'm not seeing any of the data. Okay, the Google or whatever the search engine today, it will not see the page as you see. It will see the page like this because the search engine will not understand the JavaScript compilation and everything. Whatever the string interpolation we did it here, right? These things will not be known by the search engine. That's the reason your search engine will always see the code something like this, and your search engine will not identify that okay, your website talks about this Godfather or some Redemption or a Dark Knight kind of movies. So that is that is the basic um, method the client side rendering work. So far what we discussed is client side rendering. Now assume I'm going to rewrite this code such that the rendering will happen directly on the server side. Then we will see how it behaves. Okay, so in order to render something on the server side, we need not have a reactor and design or whatever the framework. We are going to directly render from our Python, that is the backend application. Okay, so in our case we hit the API. The API really gives the JSON response, right? Now let's go to your Python code, and we created another controller called movies. Let's use the same thing. Okay, now it is remain the same, but this time we have a the movies based JSON, right? Whatever we written in the ant design, we are going to build it here. Okay, in order to do that, there is a the template concept and all those things that I'm going to show you. I mean, anyway, we are going to render on the back end, right? So we need to really render. Okay, so in order to do that, let's go ahead and create something called templates. Okay, templates, and under the template, let's go ahead and create movies.html. Open this and go and open the bootstrap. I'm going to use a bootstrap, the front end. Okay, here I'm going to use the basic example of the bootstrap application. Getting started, and can we copy this one? Okay, this one pretty cool, isn't it? Just copy paste, and here you can type whatever the name here, but we are going to render. I mean, see, even though I'm copy pasting the HTML on the backend directly in the Python code, so the Python is going to interpolate the movies JSON with the HTML. Then my front end will get the direct HTML instead of the JSON. Okay, here you go and see some kind of component. I mean, will bring us something similar to the card that we have created. Okay, bootstrap also has a similar card, something like this. Okay, copy this. So before I paste here, we need to know how the Python or a Flask framework will do the looping, right? So whatever we interpolated here, the same way we need to interpolate. So that is something you need to understand the Python little bit, and whatever the string template engine you are using. Here what I'm going to use, say they represent, this is the comment. The comment got an array. In our case, movies is an array. Okay, they say render template. That's a simple method. Okay, in order to do that, we need to we should import something, isn't it? How do what we need to import? So just go ahead and see the templates. Okay, let's use this directly in your Python code. Here, let's let's type something like template slash movies.html. To the HTML, I am passing this movies record. I mean, here we don't need to have an additional variable, right? As long as we are not going to use anything. Let's copy this and go here and paste here. So, okay, instead of comments, let's call it as movies. Render template is really throwing error. Find out how to call the render template. Flask import templates, call this. You see the same page comes out and they say render template. Call this render template method. That's it. Okay. So we call the render template in which we call the HTML along with we pass the JSON data as a movies. Go to this movies here. Okay, and see in this example they presented how to really loop the thing in the HTML. Okay, so you see this one, the for loop with the comments and end for. Okay, you put it here and you end this for. Okay, here instead of comments we use the movies, right? Movies is our variable here, right? Go here and instead of movies in movie. All right, so we do a close here. What we can do in this movies, we have to call, let's say in Python we can call something like this title. Okay, I mean we need to use everything in double brace. Okay, and then remaining we can leave it, right? So src, how did we write in the front end? We use the movie.image, isn't it? Just copy paste, in our case double brush like this, and in the title we already put the title. Maybe the description, let's go ahead and check any description we can present. Here there is a description, right? I mean this description I did not use it in the ant design. That's okay. Movie dot description. Okay, so here I wonder why this two alone showing. Maybe it is wrong. Let's deal. Okay, but everywhere I put a double flower base, but in this example there is a single for a loop and all. But yeah, this looks okay. We'll deal that. Um, we did it. Oh, okay. Here is a problem. Sorry about that. Okay. So in order to do the href, you wanted to give some href. See in your code. I mean the data. Data is really driving the UI part, right? So go ahead and look at your JSON part. You wanted to give some href. Let's say this is something they call it as imdb.com slash and some id, right? So this way we are going to render here. So here we are going to put it something like um, this and paste. Instead of this we need to call this one. This must be according to this must be idmb id. Okay, and here you can see click here, something like that. Okay, so instead of rendering on the React, we are rendering here in the Python directly template. Okay, movies are top 100 movies, top 100 movies. Sorry about that. Okay, I done this. So now all done. Okay, let's go ahead and um, refresh this on the server side. Kill and restart. So you know this is a controller, right? I told you we need not have a React because we are going to render everything on the server side directly in the Python. Some of you may have a question. So, okay, I use a I use a React, I use some Java or Python as a backend or Rails or whatever the application, C Sharp, something like that. Still, you can mix, okay? But you need to decide in your application. These are all the pages. It's a public page, facing pages where it is no authentication is required. So anyone can see. It's a open data. Google should curl my website, the search should happen, the discoverability should happen, all those things you can split your controller that this part is really going to visible after user login. I'm showing the user specific data. Those things you can plan in the React side of it. But whatever you pages you want the search engine to know about it or to scroll about it, make sure you write everything on the server side. Okay, let's go ahead and call the same method here instead of calling API, right? I return a to controller. Okay, if you are writing the RESTful service in your Python, you can use something like this. And if you're using the direct server side rendering, you can call like this, and you can call the template. The template will have HTML. And now just go and hit. Okay, so there is a small error. Let's find out what it is. It says that okay, it doesn't know where my template is. Okay, it's a simple configuration. Let's go and solve this with the simple configuration stuff. Let's tell the Flask where your templates are stored, equal to templates. Okay, I'm showing that this is a template folder from my project, and I'm telling Flask this is a folder you need to take. So here, and you go and remove this, okay, because now Flask knows where the template is, and just save it and go back. And now you run, okay, and you just go ahead and, sorry, you need to kill, right? You need to kill and run. Go and okay, okay, you see again it is an error because it says that this particular part we made a mistake. Okay, um, let's go and find out what is the issue. Okay, the blunt mistake is that in any the template in binding, we should use carefully, the variable only should be inside of the thing. Okay, this is the way you need to write. And let's go ahead and kill and restart and see here everything looks okay. Yeah, okay, I think, sorry, I should have made a return statement here and kill this start. Okay, all is done. Now you just go ahead and refresh. Okay, you got it right. Superb. So maybe similar to the and design, you wanted to really put this some kind of list. Definitely you can do. Maybe that is called a row. You can go and find something called a row in your it may be rows or columns, something like that in your bootstrap. I mean, that part I'm not going to discuss here in detail, but this is render. See, in your React, if you go and click and see, even though I see the page, right, as I explained, I see that those content is not there. So that is search engine doesn't know about your page content. So they will not know your site is talk about some movies or selling some product. Nothing search engine knows about it. But if you come back and look at your the server side rendering code, because why we call this as a server, because this is my Python app where all the rendering, okay, if you just go ahead and view and click view page source, whatever you see in this page, okay, whatever you see in this page, the same is really coming in the visual, the view source also, correct? That's the reason I'm saying that if you go and copy this URL and open your curl command, if you hit, sorry, curl, I mean this time I will curl the React, you see React doesn't give any of that. Whereas if you go on the curl, the server side rendering, you see all the data will come exactly as such, right? The movie name and everything. So this is the way the curl engine will curl your data, and it will, I mean, the search engine will know that your site is talking about these words and all those things. It will know. So again, just to repeat, there is nothing wrong in developing the client-side rendering. Clients, more, I mean, I guarantee you that I mean, 90% of your application will really require the client-side rendering. I mean, any user login, the user see user data, user modifying the data, everything. React is wonderful. But you are building any e-commerce site where the search engine know about your website content, and it is for public, so your site requires any discoverability. Please make sure all those the content interpolation is happening on the server side, so that when Google or whatever the search engine come and the crawl, I mean the entire content will be visible to the search engine, something like what you see here. So that is the difference. Okay, so you need to decide. As I told you, 90% of the time you need just React is more than enough, but 10%, especially the home page of your product, your website, your company website, or your product website, it should be really built on the server side so that it will be searchable. So I hope you get the concept of what is the server side rendering and what is the benefit behind, especially for search engine discoverability, and also you find why the front end engines like React or Angular kind of thing is not suitable for any discoverability kind of application. So both are really good in a different context. So you need to really carefully uh, uh, think, I mean, find which one is best suited for your application, and decide accordingly. Okay, I hope you enjoy this session. Whatever the question you have, please write them in the comment section. I'll definitely answer your queries. Bye.